me tell you what's intriguing about this church. So often you will think that the people who drove this church, because the faces you recognize from this platform, you'll think that's the people who drove this church. I'm going to tell you, what God has done through this church has been done through silent partners more than the visible partners. And when God gets ready to give out some incredible rewards for rewarding people who surrendered themselves to allow God to use them in a way that lives were changed through this church, you're going to be surprised because many of them you won't even recognize. Because silently they operated in the background. Their words didn't occupy the space. They weren't dramatic and out front. They didn't have to be in the center of attention, but they themselves faithfully in the background served God, and their presence is absolutely known. Let me tell you how our church started. You may not know this. At the time that God put on my heart to plant a church here in Sherwood, I was preaching in nursing homes. I preached in 5 nursing homes a weekend. Love talking to little old people. I love visiting with old people. I just love the knowledge base that comes from elderly folks. And I've always had a heart for people who are in nursing homes because I always feel like that we somehow have thrown away a whole generation of people. And I just love visiting with them. So one of the places that I went to was a place called Outlook Point. And I had about 14 people that would come faithfully every Sunday. And they would listen to the poor, pitiful message that I would present. And they were sweet to me. Most of them stayed awake. And it was right after lunch, which is kind of hard, you know what I mean? And I would teach them. And I will never forget, on one particular Sunday, God had been dealing with me for some time about planting a church. And I told him, I said, God's calling me to plant a church in the city of Sherwood. And I need to plant a church. And I challenged him. I said, will you guys, ladies and men, will y'all partner with me in prayer for this church plant? And they said, absolutely. Every single one of them categorically came to me and said, I will pray. Now, this is a group of people for our community's purposes. They've lost their productivity. They're not going to have a highlight reel. They don't have a Facebook page. I mean, they're not, they're washed up. They can't produce anything. And in our community, if you can't produce something in the workplace or something else, your value kind of goes down, unfortunately. But this group of people taught me a whole lot about the power of prayer and silent partners. They said, we'll pray. And they did. And you know what's crazy? They organized prayer when I wasn't there. They organized prayer through the week, and they would come together, and they would let me know, hey, we prayed yesterday for an hour for this church. We didn't have a name for it. I didn't even really understand what exactly it meant to even plant a church. I just knew the phrase, but I just knew God wanted us to do it. I didn't know what it even looked like. But this group of people prayed, and they prayed, and they prayed. Today, you wouldn't know any of those people. You've never seen them here. All of them are in heaven right now, matter of fact. You wouldn't recognize them on the street or anywhere else, but it's their prayers that God has honored and favored, which caused our church to have the success that it's had. I have no doubt in my mind. Yeah, absolutely, you can cover it. I have no doubt in my mind 14 little old people got on their face before God, and God said, let's do this. Let's do something cool. And you and I are the benefactors of their legacy. That's silent partners.